Hello and welcome to the Change Gang podcast with me, your host, Laura Ordile. I'm here to help you hold on to your sanity and your soul as you move through big change. I'm here to guide you from frustration to flow in your life, bridging the practical and the woo, just for you. Let's go. All right, welcome to the Week Change Gang. I'm so excited for this episode. We get to talk with Catherine Flint, who is a channeler and of some very specific, fun source. I'll put it as source representatives. You'll have to explain to me in a minute, Catherine, how you term that. But her business is called The Channeled Source. And it fascinates me because one of the sources that she gets information from is Druid. And so, Catherine, why don't you tell me a little bit about you and what you do?
Yeah. So I am a channeler, and you are correct in saying that one of the collectives that I do channel are Druids. I didn't realize that that's who I was working with and starting to connect with years ago, but they kind of came forward. I know I've been a Druid in past lifetimes, so I really have that connection with them and have really, ingrained into that energy of working with the elements and understanding how, we've incarnated into this human form. And so we really need to really own that and have fun with it and enjoy the fact that we do have a body, because so many souls don't get the chance to come to Earth.
But they might be somewhere else. Who knows?
That's true.
Think we're right here.
I know.
For those of the people who are listening that might not understand exactly what channeling is, for me, it's a direct connection. It's a conversation, basically. But why don't you explain for you what channeling is?
Yeah, it really is that direct connection of being able to give information without my own opinions, judgments, beliefs. All of that is removed. So, when I do trance channeling, I do interpretive channeling, I always, I can just tap in and kind of get information from them as well, kind of more like a psychic would. But I believe that, because I'm giving it without any other beliefs or thoughts, it is truly from source and that collective, and it's meant for the person that is in front of me or the person that's receiving the messages. Because sometimes I'll say something and I'll think, God, that sounds really weird, or that doesn't make any sense. And the person will go, oh my gosh, it makes so much sense. But if I had filtered it, it wouldn't have made any sense to them. So I just give it as I get it and just trust that it's what the person needs to hear.
So did you choose to direct your energy into channeling, or was it something you started to notice, or that's always been there?
It just happened one day. My story is that I was reading tarot cards. I had decided I was going to take a tarot card class, had never used them before, had never even picked them up. And something just said, why don't you take this class? So I went to the center that I'd never been to before and started taking a class, and was shocked at how well people were like, yeah, you got it. That was right on. And so my psychic abilities really started to show themselves, which were always there. I just didn't recognize them for what they were. One night when I was reading tarot, I just started channeling, not even expecting. I was in a trance. It was one of my guides, and it started this journey of being, I went through the fear, I went through the anger, I went through all of those different stages of what is this? What am I doing? And then really had to learn to embrace it and say, okay, if this is my path, if this is why I came here to Earth to do this and help people and support them and give the knowledge that I have and be this channel, then I'm going to move forward with it. So after a few months, it switched from my guide over to the Druids. Now I work with, the Divine Feminine and a couple others, but the Druids are mainly the ones that I connect mostly with. And so I know it's how it was meant to be. Had to make a lot of major changes to my life, but it's been good. It's been a good shift, and I know I'm on the path of where I need to be.
So great. When you say that, it was through your guide, had you already connected with your guide, or did they just show up in that particular moment?
No, I'd always known that guides were around me, but I was never one to say, what are their names? Who are they? that wasn't who I was. I was very 3D at that time. I knew about guides and angels and psychics. And, when growing up, that was kind of part of our family. People would talk about it. As it shifted, then I had to learn who my guides were. I did a past life regression, understanding all the lifetimes we'd had together and really starting to expand that and grow that. And now I know that, the three that I connected with then are really my birth to death guides. But I have so many more that are popping in and out based on the different point in my life. So, they're always there, but sometimes I don't really work with them as much anymore because they're like, hey, this isn't our forte. We've got someone else in here that can really help you excel forward.
Yeah, that's such a great point. People don't realize that our helpers or guides or angels, whatever you choose to call them, definitely, I think you have, some main ones that, like you said, are there for a good long time or through the duration.
Yeah.
But then you have those other little helpers that come and go at different points of your life, maybe to get you through a difficult time or to get you through, like you said, so many people, I love that you said that you went through all the stuff of, oh my gosh, the fear and the anger and that, what's happening type stuff, which when we come through big change, that's an absolute normal process. Even in a spiritual change, those base emotions come up. And when you have your guides there, they're going to help you move through that in an easier way than if you're kind of not stepping into that process and allowing it. But so then it shifted, you said, to the Druids. What was that like for you? What was that experience? Was it like, oh goodness, what's this?
Well, I noticed that there was this being following me around and, cloaked, dark, looked kind of like a monk. I could never see his face. And I always did this thing, and I still do it now at times, but I would always say, when I got into a room or before I went to bed, if you're not of my highest and greatest good and of the light, you need to leave. And things would start to disappear. Because I was so open and I didn't know how to control it, I'd have a lot of different energies that would be flying in near me. So that was kind of my way to say, clear the room. And he would just stand there and he'd look around. And I'd be like, no, that means you. And he'd be like, oh. So we'd just step back over the threshold. And I would talk to my guides and I'd say, should he be here? Like, what is up with him? And they're like, it's okay. Like, they didn't give me any information, but it was just acclimating to him. And then one of the times I channeled, I didn't expect it to be him that came through, but it was him who came through. And that was kind of the beginning then of the journey of learning that he was a druid, because I did not know about druids prior to working with him. And then, kind of building it from there. And now there's multiple different energies from the druid consciousness that I work with. But yeah, that was kind of the beginning of it. It was very unexpected. I tell people my journey into channeling and even working with the druids has really just been stuff just happens to me. When they say, oh, you went in and you tried to get this and you worked at it. And I'm like, I had to hone it. I had to, adjust the energy. I had to release a lot. I had to raise my vibration, but these things just kind of came to me. So that's why I knew it was really meant to be. And, this was my path.
So just to kind of go into the basics of a little bit of druids, tell us a little bit about druids. I know a little bit, but obviously you probably know way more than I do. And I imagine you went and investigated more, in your own world besides just listening and hearing. It's like, ooh, I'm going to go learn a little bit more about that. Did that kind of instigate you to do that?
Oh, it did for sure. I, went and I started Googling. That's the first thing I did was, okay, what are they? Who are they? And, for people that aren't aware, cause I'll mention them and, people will hear about them in, there's a lot of TV shows that they're in and movies and that kind of stuff. So that the media really hasn't done them any favors, from what I have seen and from what they've told me. But I started that research then to figure out, okay, who are they? How are they coming in? Where am I? And so for people that don't know, they lived around 300 BC to about 1400 AD. Really started off in Turkey and then kind of got persecuted and pushed over to what we now know as Scotland and Ireland and the UK over there. And really, this stone circles are very much theirs. They're very connected. Yeah. They're very much connected in with the elements. And so everything is about how can you work with the elements and how can you connect in with that. They told me a lot about, and when I've read a lot of books on it, then I went to the library and just got any book I could find, is that they were really there to help the people. They did not live in the city center. They lived outside, which is why they were considered pagan. But now pagan has gotten a negative connotation that there was sacrifices and things like that, which they're like, no, that really wasn't how it happened. Like, you guys put down animals now, pets, when they are at the end of their life. They're like, we did similar things for animals, but it kind of got spun in a different way than what it was really meant for. And I was like, okay, that makes sense. And so, yeah. So now as I continue to work with them, it's really about me going, okay, how can I rely on fire if I need transformation? How can I rely on, water if I really need to connect in with emotions? And they've really been guiding me in how to utilize those, how to really assist others to use what the earth provides for us. Because they always say, you guys always say you're these spiritual beings, and you are, but you're also a human. You're also earthly. Like, yeah, you're going to be spiritual forever. You're only on earth for a certain amount of time. So embrace that and enjoy that and really see things from a human aspect and from an earth aspect. That is a struggle for me. I work on that every day, but that's kind of the thing that I try to work on the most, and that they keep telling me, like, see it from the human eye. You can't see it the same way from a spiritual eye.
Isn't that interesting? Because so many people here do try to strive for the opposite.
Yeah.
To strive to be like outside of the human experience and tap into the spiritual and do that and become more where we are more right here.
Yeah.
We're meant to be here.
I know. And I was the exact same way. And it's, it's that understanding that be in the body. I was working on this last night. I said, okay, I need to be more in the body. I'm so much out here. And as a channel, that's where I go when I start channeling, because it's hard for me to be in here with them to be in my body too. And so it's all about just really kind of come back in and reset down and ground down back into that. I tell people it's a balance. There's times where we have to go up and out, and there's times where we truly need to be back in.
Well, yeah, and I'm just going to have to say, as an astrologer, the elements are a huge part of who we are in this lifetime, and it's a part of our daily process. We deal with the elements in every version every single day.
Yeah.
With air, we talk every day. With water, we feel every day. With fire, we're in motion every day.
Mm-hmm.
With earth, we're connecting at some level with the earth every day. To bring those into balance, I always say it's like driving a car down the road, with the four tires. They really need to be balanced. If you have one that's really jacked up, you're going to creep along in a weird way. And if you have one that's not there at all, you're going to not really go anywhere.
Yeah.
And so, bringing those elements, I think it's great that they talk about that and say, yes, absolutely have all of that as something to be useful in your life.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is useful.
It is. Yeah. Let's rely on the energy we have around us. I feel sometimes we make it harder than what it should be. So it's all about, let it really connect in with us, really use what is given to us and at our fingertips. We've just kind of been, kind of blind and deaf to a lot of that. As I work with clients, especially when I do more coaching or more things like that, it's like, okay, let's rely on the element this week. Let's really look at earth. Let's really ground. What's your foundation and how does that go through your life? Because it is so strong. And that's the one thing I would tell people is, connect in with those, go light a fire, even if it's just a candle, go out and sit by a water source, whether it be a lake, a stream, a creek, or if you don't have that, just bring a big bowl of water in front of you. It doesn't have to be hard. Take a bath, take a shower, those things.
Right. And just those little moments of connection. It doesn't always have to be a deep, spiritual, long connection with something. It is, if you go put your feet in the water for a few minutes, it helps with the emotional flow. It helps with kind of things just moving in the way that they need to flow. If you communicate in some way, whether it's talking or journaling or doing something, even for a few minutes, it opens up that element of air for you and kind of allows that to really connect in a better way. Yes. And provide more things for you. So when you are coaching someone and you are giving a channeling reading to someone, what kind of information do you have? Like, let's talk about the reading for a second. Yeah. So if you're doing a channel reading for them, what kind of information, since you are talking about bringing it into the earthly experience, what kind of information do you get from the Druids to give to people?
Yeah, a lot of it has to do with life purpose and life path. So where are you at? Are you at a crossroads? What do you truly need to know to move forward? And how does that connect with your life? So they talk in very broad senses with a lot of things. So people will, ask questions to really dive down because my sessions with me are very conversational. But I always tell clients it's exactly what your soul wants you to hear. Your consciousness may not want you to hear, but your soul is going to want you to hear. And so that is kind of how we connect it in and truly have that understanding of what it is for people. I will say every session is different. Because every client is different in what they need. Even if I have a client who comes back for, a second reading, they'll be like, wow, so much has changed. There's so many new things because of the decisions we make as humans. The energy we shift, the life choices we make, it's all going to affect the path and the plan of where we are. So it really connects in with that. Very high level topics. We don't touch as much on, oh, when am I going to meet my next partner? It's more about, okay, what do you need to do to be in alignment to allow a partner to come into your life? Yeah. So it's those kinds of things that truly connect in and really let people have that understanding of where they need to go and what they need to do to move forward.
Great. And so I'm curious, do people sometimes get, or do they give you, or do they kind of resist or have kickback sometimes with things that you tell them?
Some of them will, after I channel, then there's usually some time where I can humanize it because I remember it for about a half hour to an hour afterwards. So explain things or connect it in, or, I can tap in psychically then to really know kind of how it's connecting. And I'll let people go, oh no, that's not the case. Or no, I don't know exactly what you're talking about. And I always tell them, put it in your back pocket. It's going to make sense at some point. And the number of clients I've had that have reached out 3, 4, 6 months later, like, oh my gosh, you wouldn't believe what happened. And I'm like, no, I kind of expected it. And it was just, because of those things that are popping in. So, I tell people, whether they're going to me or another channel or a reader, is someone is giving you the information fully open without their own beliefs or judgments. Take the information they have and hang on to it. It will make sense at some point. When source talks, no matter what collective you're working with, things can get very vague. They don't get as detail oriented as we are because they don't grasp the details, but just hang on to it. And at some point it will make sense or you'll connect it back.
Do you let them ask questions during the process?
Yeah.
Channeling, or do you say, what are your questions, and you kind of have them up front? How does your process work if someone comes and sits down with you?
Yeah. So when, someone comes and sits down, basically I know their name, and their email, because obviously I need that to send them, the information for the session. But I just ask them if they have any questions about how I channel or how it's going to work. If they've seen a channel before, because if people have, they understand the process. If they don't, I'll give them a little background. And then I just jump in. My channeling is very conversational. The Druids are great about asking, do you understand? Do you need more clarification? And then they always usually give time for questions as well, to say, okay, what have we not answered that you still need more information on, And so it really, the session is about an hour, and that's up to the client to use that hour for how they want. So I've had some clients who I channel the full hour. I've had others where I channel 20 minutes, a half hour, 40 minutes, and the rest of the time we really use to discuss it and put it back into human terms. And for me to say, okay, this is how I feel like this message fits or that message fits, if they have questions about that, or give them tips on how to integrate a certain energy or different things to do. So yeah, it is very conversational, and it's truly the time between the Druids and the person. And then every client leaves with a recording. So I'll email them a recording of their session so that they can, go back and re-listen to it. And I tell people, when it calls to you, re-listen to it. You don't necessarily have to do beginning to end every time. You can even just pick a spot, move it to, I want to go 10 minutes in. And there's a reason why you pick that, because there'll be something there that you need to hear. Because people tell me all the time, I go back and I re-listen and I hear so many things I didn't hear before. Yeah.
As always, you're concentrating on something, or you're in one place, and so you hear something. When you're in another place, you hear something else, or you take it differently and receive it a little bit differently. So you talked about the one druid that kind of stepped forward in the beginning and initiated contact with you and was there. And then it kind of became the druids. So there's, which happens often with a collective that's being channeled. When you're channeling, do different druids step forward for different information to kind of, or is there like a lead druid? I don't know what they would be called, but
yeah, it's a little bit of both. So the one that I've always connected with, since, he was the first one that showed up, he's usually always there. He's always around. He's always around me. I think he's kind of turned into a guide, or he's just telling me, I was like, I am a guide, so he's always there. But there will be times where it will be a different druid. The client usually can't tell. Even people that have seen me channel a lot, they don't even know. But I can feel the energy and the vibration shift. And so, I think it's whoever comes through is who it is what the client needs and what the person needs. So sometimes there's one that's a little more feminine, that's more if someone needs to talk about nurturing or care, some more of those feminine qualities that we look at. There's another one who's very ancient, has a lot of that very deep knowledge. So if we have to go really deep in something, he may come through. So it really just depends upon who's in front of me and what they need. I don't control it. I don't, sometimes I'm even shocked once I start. I'm like, oh, I didn't think you'd show up today, but I'm like, okay, this is what's needed. I really let them do it because I look at myself as I'm just the person giving letting them utilize me to give the information. It's not my choice to decide who should come through or who should not. I don't want to control that.
No. So have you never gone and asked a question of a particular one and been like, hey, wouldn't this maybe be a good question for you? Having, gotten to know them and kind of sense them. Do you ever feel like you direct a question, or do you really just kind of back off and let it all come?
When I'm with a client, I really let the client lead the way. And I let the two of them really have that. Now, because I'm fully kind of, in that semi-trance state with a client in an hour channeling session, I really let them have that time and do that afterwards. If we're in that discussion phase, I might say, well, let me check in on this, or they keep it to wanting me to make sure you understand this aspect. But if I'm working with a client in another way, or, if I'm teaching, sometimes they'll say, okay, well, what about this? And then then I'll ask questions and they'll give the answers back to me. But I don't want, to me, if I'm asking a question and the client's in front of me, it's my mind working, my thoughts intruding. And so I just truly want it to be authentically theirs.
Yeah, getting out of the way, letting what comes. And that can be a challenge sometimes because it takes practice a little bit to let that happen and not have your brain start to try to fill things in. Yeah. Like you said at the beginning, where you might not understand what is being said, but it's the right thing for that person. Where if you try to understand it, it goes all wrong because you're trying to make something out of this.
Exactly.
So it gets really interesting in that. And I had a question for you and I totally forgot what it was.
It'll come back.
I know. I'll think of it in a minute. So that's why I tend to write things down while I'm sitting here talking, because then I get off on something else and I forget what it was. Oh, I remember. When you're getting information and, as you said, a lot of times it's around life purpose, life path, being at a crossroads, the direction to kind of head into. Do they ever provide actual real practical information that says, hey, it might be beneficial for you to go work with, I'll use me as an example, go work with a hypnotist, or go work with a mindset mentor, or go work with this specific kind of coach? Do they ever kind of bring that information through?
They may not get down to the specifics of like a mindset coach or a particular type of hypnotist, but they may say, you really need to work with getting the mind out of the way, or you need to work with the subconscious, or find something that calls you, that connects. I find that they try not to give specific direction because they want something that resonates with that person. And they're really big on, we don't want to remove your life choice and your free will. In my discussion, I might say, you might really want to look at, maybe it's a hypnotist or a mindset coach or something like that, but see what calls to you, see what resonates. So I may give more of those really deep specifics. They're going to give the broader thing of work with the subconscious, look into learning a different modality around the mind. They kind of keep it a little bit broader, knowing that something's going to come into that person's life. They're going to go, oh, that sounds really cool. And they might go, oh, this is what they meant. Because if they said a specific, they're just going to go out and look, and the first hypnotist they come across, they're going to go, okay, this is it, but it might not be the right one. So
that makes total sense. Yeah, absolutely. Opening the door a little bit and letting the person walk through instead of going here.
Yeah.
Kind of shoving them through it.
Yeah. And I look at every session too as, the energy's always around me, but people will tell me, gosh, I just felt all this energy around me. So I look at it too, these sessions are really a healing and a clearing, because even though most of my sessions are through Zoom, I'm not, in person with them, that they feel that energy and that shift. And so I think a lot of times it's opening up for these new things to pop into their life then.
Right. That's great. That's so cool. Thank you so much. Thank you. So, gosh, we're going to have to talk some more. I want to talk some more. But I'm going to leave it here for today. And I would love for you to share with us, and of course it will be in the show notes, of how people can find you, where they can connect with you. So if you have a second to do that, that would be great.
Absolutely. So my website is thechanneledsource.com. You can find me there. I also have Instagram, Facebook under both of those as well, and a YouTube channel under that. Definitely take a look there, to learn more, to see some of the different messages the Druids have put out. I put out one a couple times a month. There'll be a new one out there, so you can really kind of connect with them. Shoot me a message. Let me know if you guys have any questions or what was that. You can do that through the website on the contact page.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. All right, Change Gang, there you go. And of course, if you have any questions, reach out to her. If you need help finding her, reach out to me. I'd be happy to send you her way, because I'm super fascinated at this point too. So thank you so much, Catherine, for being here. And Change Gang, I hope that you go and have a wonderful week, and I will meet you right here next week.
I hope today's episode was interesting to you in some way and fun. If so, hey, find someone to share it with. Maybe they need to hear it too, or maybe they'll just enjoy it. If you'd like, go ahead and grab my tips on supercharging your success. It includes a free short meditation to do just that. You can find that at bit.ly/supercharge your success. Until next time, happy day.